Richard Corben's color. This is an essay about Richard Corben's comic book color techniques. Corben was great at creating exciting color over line art, but I'll discuss that more when I move to the second Kayfabe related part of this video. There were two ways that Corben colored comics, one for his line art style and the second, far more challenging approach for his painterly mixed media tonal art. My focus here is on the latter. Examples of it are the color done for his covers and the opus level comic book work like Den and some of the Warren magazines. The key to understand one reason why no one else could do Corben color is the importance of the original art's painterly finish. Corben's original painted pages were completely realized paintings. Edges and tone blended to the same level of, say, a Dean Cornwell black and white illustration that might have appeared in Saturday Evening Post. The ability to produce this adroit black and white tonal art is requirement number one. Just as important, that art had to be paired with his ingenious color separation technique requiring Corben's intuition and knowledge about CMYK color mixing. CMYK process entails 4 negatives to create 4 plates: yellow, magenta, cyan, and black. Corben owned a process camera like the one pictured. This allowed him to manipulate his black and white tonal art into color separations with the use of acetate overlays. The masks were opaque black and area specific, breaking the image into a unique map of black shapes. The multiple acetate overlays are folded aside per exposure to produce the localized strength of the original negative. The section where the last black overlay is folded aside has the greatest concentration of color. It required multiple exposure work for each of the 4 negatives. I imagine the simplest color negative he produced took 4 exposures. The black and white negative might be accomplished with 1 exposure, but even for that he might want it finessed. To do a simulation of how those black overlays produce the effect desired, I used Photoshop, of course. But where I used the visual of black over the art before, I instead used those same bits, turn them white, and vary their opacity. This simulates those color strength differences that happen with the overlay sequence in multiple exposure. For the single example I produced, it is closest to how maybe the yellow negative was produced. It minimizes the calculation required for Corben's approach to compare it to this common approach used by digital painters. Artists today use Photoshop or some other program, get their values in a tonal piece of art, and then colorize it. Colorizing with an infinite grab bag of layer filtering. Corben needed his own algorithm between his ears to sequence the black masks he folded aside for his multiple exposure. Color, saturation, their complements, opacity levels, made easy with simple button selections today. Corben quit the labor-intensive technique he was using the moment software caught up with his ability at custom separation. Kayfabe had a YouTube about Corben's color that started me on this project, link below. I wanted to add and clarify points. The main thing that Kayfabe gets right is being impressed by Corben. That's a big club I'm happy to be a member of. But the video held on that one piece of line art of a unicorn from the complete book of cartooning. It wasn't Corben line art, it was John Atkins Richardson line art, showing an example of Richardson's color ability using standard overlay screens, the whole time talking about Corben's great color. That was the inspiration for this video, clarification why some of the Corben color gets legendary GOAT status and his line art color is different. Corben is great at the simpler overlay creation, of course. The painter brain is still at work when the overlay becomes the painting. But the airbrush work onto acetate, the scratches, the zipatone, everything that got done per overlay turned into one screen with a single exposure. Corben's line art comics and covers got color like all standard comic books, only with Corben's extra care and bold choices. Like all artists that bridge traditional media to digital, I imagine he always was able to appreciate not cutting zipatone and amberlith ever again. Kansas City, Missouri. This is the personal part of this. In the mid-70s, I was fresh out of college in Oklahoma. I was aware of Corben's comic book art in Warren and some of the undergrounds, like Fever Dreams and Fanagore, maybe the movie poster art for Phantom of Paradise, and all the Doubleday Science Fiction Book Club dust jacket art arriving like clockwork to my mom's house. I was working in an ad art agency specializing in yellow page art. That was the big account. Mike, my co-worker, was planning a trip to Kansas City, Missouri to visit family. I knew Corben lived in Kansas City, Missouri. I found his number. This probably required calling long-distance information, having no internet. I cold called him, said I was a big fan, and asked if Mike and I could visit him. He said yes. What a great guy. Mike and I arrive, and wow, guess what was pinned all over the sheetrock walls of his condo's bottom level garage studio? I'll tell you, it was Den in gradated tones of black and white, magnificent art everywhere the eye landed. The story was headed for Metal Hurlant. He had it pinned up to check the story and probably revel a bit. In the corner of the studio was his process camera, a big one designed to sit on its nose. Corben patiently explained the process to me. I'm thankful I understood enough about color to be appropriately stunned by what he told me. I had arrived as a fan and left thinking, is that guy even human? Some sort of mutant ability is at work with this Corben fellow. It was so impressive to imagine him working through all that engineering/hacking of the color overlays to get his art the way he imagined it. So that's the backstory of why I think I can explain a bit about Corben's color, one of my niftiest memories. This video plays on my other channel without this addendum. This is to show some better examples that you can see here that probably should have been used in the video. And I want to admit to a major flaw in it, which I admit to in the comments. But there's the main thing I start out with is Bloodstar's cover. And that is an actual painting, as we see just about right here, with him announcing his work. And Villarubia does a lot of work on Corben's great stuff. So that's it.